Hey there guys, I'm the Dead Broke Nerd, and in keeping with my namesake, what I want to do is talk about Onrush. Onrush is free for the month of December on the PlayStation Store if you have PSPlus. You know, the thing you have to buy in order to play online with the games you already bought. Yeah, that thing. Anywho, Onrush is a game that wants to take Need for Speed and stick it in a blender with Overwatch and Fortnite's artistic team to churn out a high-paced, arcade-style vehicular combat game. Yeah, that's how the Wikipedia page classified Onrush. Thing is, as goofy as it sounds, it kinda works. At its core, Onrush is a game where two teams of 6 race, crash, and soar across several sprawling tracks, all the while working to fulfill the unique objectives of the various game modes offered. There are 2 different cars in each of 4 different weight classes, offering a total of 8 vehicles to choose from, each with distinct perks that highlight different playstyles. So, PS4 players, is Onrush worth your money? Well, yeah, it's free. But more importantly, is it worth your time? I'll leave you to decide that as I talk about some of Onrush's pros and cons. First thing you'll figure out about Onrush is that it's easy to learn. The controls are simple, the objectives are straightforward, and once you understand that your car's unique abilities are just passive effects that won't require additional button presses, you stop overthinking things and just drive. That's a good thing, because driving in this game is insanely satisfying. The steering is responsive, and outside of tight turns, you won't really need to utilize your handbrake that often, meaning you can zip around the course, smashing into people and picking up the boost that litter the ground. Speaking of the courses, the tracks don't really feel like tracks. It's not until you play a map a few times that you realize it isn't just endless road. It took me probably 45 minutes before I realized the maps weren't randomly generated, which is really cool. The cars move so fast and you end up so focused on smashing your opponents or driving through checkpoints that it takes a while to process the beautiful scenery. Even when the illusion dissipates, each of the tracks are just so damn fun that hitting your favorite ramps or remembering to handbrake around that tight corner becomes a joy in itself. All that said, the variety of game modes really comes in clutch here. Players have to be surprised and challenged, and that's where I was most impressed. 4 different game modes offer extremely different styles of play. Countdown has players racing through gates to add time to your team's clock, reminiscent of old arcade car games. Overdrive simply asks you and your teammates to gain points by acquiring and using Boost. While simple, it does train the players on methods of recharging their meter and to keep their car moving at optimal speeds. And of course, running your opponents off the road will stall their team's progress. Lockdown requires teams to coordinate in what is probably the most nuanced game mode, where a moving zone must be controlled by battling teams. First to control 6 zones wins the match. Now, my personal favorite was called Switch. Through a stroke of genius, this game mode combines Call of Duty's gun game with Mario Kart's balloon battle. Each player starts on a motorcycle, the lightest vehicle and the easiest to wreck. The players then set about taking down all the opponents while staying alive themselves. Once a player's knocked off their bike, they're downgraded to a light frame car, then a medium frame, then a heavy. The first team with only heavy frame cars is the loser, while also giving players who were eliminated early the opportunity to recklessly hunt down the enemy or protect their fragile teammates. That's not to say, of course, that Onrush is without fail. I did notice a few things that annoyed me as I played. My biggest complaint is the several non-skippable post-game stat screens, which had me mashing the X button to no avail. As a new player, I have absolutely no frame of reference to what is or isn't good, and as such would much rather just jump into the next game. One of the other things that bothered me is the slow motion wraparound that goes off when you take down an enemy vehicle in the single player pseudo campaign thing. Pro tip, keep steering even during that scene, because if you don't, you'll probably crash immediately afterwards. My last complaint is minor, and it's something I got used to as I got better at the game. The screen can get pretty cluttered sometimes thanks to the neutral fodder cars that randomly spawn. They give you boosts when you crash them. This combined with allied cars that hand out boosts and the tombstones that drop where players wreck can all add up to sometimes not seeing minor things, like a thin tree or a cliff quickly approaching, and will force you into some frustrating wrecks. The good news is, as you play the game, you'll find yourself victim to fewer and fewer unforced errors, and smartly, the game is designed to get you back into the action as quick as possible after crashing. One last thing. This game does have a player and vehicle customization system, And looking at the artistic style, you can see why I mentioned Fortnite earlier. It seems to operate on similar grounds as Overwatch, offering loot crates that randomly drop fun gear, none of which makes a lick of difference when actually playing the game. You also seem to be able to get coins pretty easily by completing daily or weekly objectives, and can spend those on specific pieces you want. I didn't really spend much time in this section, but each of the characters seem to have fun flavors to them, so I can see people enjoying this part of the game. I hope you found this video helpful, and keep in mind these opinions are just that. They're my opinions and impressions that I formed by playing this game. After recording footage for this video, I did end up spending another 3 hours grinding the single player tracks and trying out different vehicles. Ultimately, this game's not super deep, and you can see that it was clearly designed from the ground up to potentially compete in the esports market. That said, don't sleep on the fun this game can provide over a long winter break. It's simple, explosive, and absolutely stunning to watch. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you have time, feel free to subscribe, like, or comment on this video. I plan on uploading a similar video in the next week, giving my impressions on the other December PS Plus offering, the sci-fi horror game Soma. Until next time, I'm the Dead Broke Nerd, and I wish you the absolute best in your gaming pursuits.